Hey,
Hey, how is everybody?
Fine, you.
fantastic. How are you?
I'm
I'm great.
I got,
Happy
I got,
Tuesday,
I got to
TWO.
Say
decide
what,
which.
girl? Did you say
I have
happy
to.
Tuesday?
I say happy Tuesday,
Uh-huh.
TWO.
I
Day
know.
DAY.
How about that?
Hello.
So
I
let me
have to decide which pair of fronts I'm gonna wear today.
say what?
I have to decide which pair of fronts I'm gonna sport today.
Oh, okay. I know that light be hurting your ass. You said all this beauty that's on these screens. Hey, everybody. I wanna welcome you to Opinions. Right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Spreaker, and streaming where you can listen on most major streaming apps. And you know what, girl?
What? Tell me.
I was on the internet the other day, and I put in a conversation with Brother Raymond on Amazon. I was really looking for a book. It's a book, but the
Okay.
book is called the Book of Raymond.
Hmm.
And I put the wrong thing in. And girl, when I put the wrong thing in, guess what popped up?
What popped up?
Rhythm Flow Radio live stream on Amazon Music.
Oh my goodness.
And then I
We've
saw
hit the big
Opinion.
time.
I saw Opinion. I saw Lady Petite's live stream. Oh,
What?
girl, I saw In the Basement with Macklemore.
Oh my, who was on location in Hawaii, if I might mention.
Absolutely. And then I turned around and there was a conversation with Brother Raymond. So I tell you, the pandemic did us good.
Wow. Well, hey, that's great to hear.
Right. And guess what I'm trying to learn how to do now?
What are you trying to learn?
I think I want to move the live from Facebook to TikTok. You
Wow.
choose, honey, you can do a live show on TikTok.
I did not know that.
Yes, you can.
That
Very
sounds
Because
good.
modern.
I ran into a musician. I'm gonna find out if he's my relative. It's called Lowe Music. Winding down with Lowe. And girl, he's live.
Okay.
And then I ran into all these other things that were live. I said, girl, this is what we need to do.
Okay.
But all
TikTok.
these
And I'm not much of a TikTok I watch the little funny videos and all that, but I'll definitely have to get well versed in that.
well, you know, I've been putting stuff on TikTok, and some of the stuff it gets listen, it gets the views on TikTok that I used to get on Facebook.
Wow.
I'm talking about 1,900 views.
Okay. So
Hmm.
maybe everyone's migrating towards there.
Well,
Yeah, they
honey,
will. They will
I guess
eventually.
this, I guess this will be the great migration because we.
The
Yeah,
exactly.
and I think. Well, we've been getting some. You haven't been getting the call-ins from people who are in my net who actually have been tuning in. Some of them have been getting it later after we get off live stream, and
Okay.
they go to YouTube and pick it up and look at it, and
For the
then they want to
podcast.
call me and stay on the phone all night talking about the show and who are those ladies and how interesting the show happens to be. Uh,
Wow. That's great
but
to hear.
Somebody has been looking at it on YouTube because I saw it.
yeah, there are various individuals from across the country. Though we have people in Louisiana, and especially New Orleans area. We have people in Austin, Texas, uh, Round Rock, and Austin. Actually, we have people in Mobile and Birmingham, Alabama. We have individuals in Denver, Colorado. Actually, it's looking at the show here, and of course a whole plethora of individuals in Mississippi as well.
Oh,
And
that's fantastic.
and so we actually are plugged into the MBSU alumni network. Um, that's one of
Wait. I hear some music.
okay.
I hear some music.
Well, I'm interested in seeing who you're playing today.
All right, wait. I'm trying to make sure.
It's a I think it's somebody. Do you have like a
No,
TV on or
it may be
something?
my television. Hold on.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah, it
forgot
probably is.
about Hold on.
okay.
Yeah, I
I
got
was
the.
hearing something. I thought it was here. I looked at my music. It's all.
Great. Well, you know what? Well, that this might be a good segue to kind of get started. So, well, welcome to Opinions, and today this.
Everybody introduce themselves,
Oh,
girl.
okay. Before we, well, I am Lorie Williams, aka Opinionated Lorie.
And I'm Donald Kincaide,
And
aka the professor, as they call me.
Yes, the professor,
and I am. You know.
aka KL. And we are happy to be here. And so yeah, so this is our last day, final installment of our four-part series on Black History Month, February. And the past 3 weeks, we've kind of gone over really just the Great Migration from the South to Chicago, and kind of like what took place and its effects in the city of Chicago. And today, episode 4, we're going to be talking about 2020 and beyond, and really just kind of what has happened since the Great Migration, and then also talking about the fact that city of Chicago is losing Black population, and talk a little bit about that. I was looking at on WBEZ, and they had a little piece on there by Natalie Moore, and I'm just going to read a little bit of that, and then we can just kind of base our discussion on that. So what this says is the story of Black Chicagoans leaving the city is largely mired in speculation and sometimes makes for grand political theater. Among the narratives offered by some have been Black residents leave because of violence, they're embarking on a reverse migration to the South, and they're being pushed out. A report from the University of Illinois at Chicago busts some of these myths. Instead, it finds a much more complicated story. Black population trends in Chicago are strongly correlated to racial inequities in the city, and the pattern goes back decades. Instead of a mass reverse migration to the South, the report found that when Black movers leave Chicago, they're more likely to stay in the region, with many relocating to surrounding counties in Illinois and northern Indiana. And despite more attention being paid to Black population decline in recent years, the report notes that the trend is a long-standing one. In 1980, decades of Black population growth in Chicago stopped and reversed. By 2016, Chicago's Black population had decreased by 350,000 from its peak of nearly 1.2 million in 1980. So that is pretty alarming. And just for a level set here, the population percentage wise, the three largest groups are of Black, white, Black, and Hispanic. So currently, or as of I'll say 2019, Chicago had a population that was 33% Black, 29%. I'm sorry, 33% white, 29% Black, and 29% Hispanic. Um, these numbers are interesting when we talk about Hispanic and white because when you look at the census, the U.S. Census, uh, Hispanics are not really considered a racial group; it's more of a cultural group. So a lot of that, so I had to kind of extract some of that data and make the assumption because some you can be Hispanic, but you can be Black Hispanic, white Hispanic, indigenous, or mixture of all three. So
Everything but Hispanic. Because
right.
the
Which
only
the base of the word Hispanic, Spanish, that comes from Europe, so really is white. So
that's
it's
correct.
it's a bit of a kind of a misnomer. The other thing that I found that as far as population wise, within the city of Chicago, you have only, and when we say, as far as poverty is concerned, and poverty is defined as a family of four with two children at income level of 25,465, and a single parent of one child at 17,308. So you have only 8% of white people that are living in poverty within the city of Chicago, and then you have 29% of Black people living in poverty and 18% Hispanics living in poverty. So that kind of deals with the aftermath of the population. So I don't know if we can make some sort of a draw a conclusion that Black people left because of financial reasons, but either way, it's really unfortunate that you have such a large amount of Black people living in poverty compared to other groups.
Well, first off, I like to to go back to a thing that we talked about the other day when it comes down to statistics and polling information. We have to be very careful about spurious relationships and skewed figures, because it depends on what they're quoting those figures for. When it comes down to individuals who are migrating, when I went back and looked at the numbers and then dealt with the grim realities, because the grim realities say one thing. See, we've gotten away from extended families. You remember when the great grandmama and the grandmother and the mother and all of those families lived kind of close together in the same area in the home. Well,
right.
that's being not so, because the baby boomers are dying out now. The baby boomers used to be the group that everybody focused on, because especially for Black people, they were the predominant group. They were the ones who were in the working middle class, going to school, doing all the things. The one people who were born in 1950 and after, and so you have to be careful about the way they put those names, those figures, because they aren't particular about going out sampling areas that they should sample to get correct figures. And another thing that biases the figures is that some people maintain a residence here and move in order to enjoy the benefits. They still come back and draw benefits in the city, but they're elsewhere. So you can't count them.
Now here's the other thing though too, is that sometimes you don't necessarily need to have the statistics, just looking at it with our eyes and what we see as well.
Okay,
So
but let me say this. People are moving. I grant you that.
Yes.
But Chicago has a very high cost of living here. But you talked about the wages. I want to tell you something. I'm a baby boomer. I'm a 50s baby. I am 1950. Okay, that makes me about 72 years old in July. It's coming July 5th. But I want you to think about this, and think about this very hard. In 1968, the federal minimum wage was about $1.60 an hour.
Yeah.
We talk about 1968. We're talking over 50 some years ago. The federal minimum wage right now is no more than what, about $89?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay?
yeah.
So now we talk about, this is a federal minimum wage, which covers all the states.
Or actually, I think, isn't it 7 something?
Okay, seven. Okay, that covers all the states. An employer, if you don't want to pay you, but $7.
Yeah, $7.25 is
Okay,
the federal.
$7.25. I mean, by law, he can pay you that. That's minimum wage.
Right. Now, state of Illinois minimum wage is what does it say here? $11.
Okay, but I was
Yep.
no, it's more. It's I think it's a little bit more. I think it's like $12. No, it's in the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
It's
The
15.
minimum wage is 15.
Right. But state of Illinois is only 11.
But the state
Yeah.
of Illinois is different. But I'm saying is, when people leave here, why are they leaving? It can't be because of the wages. The federal minimum wage is only $7 and something.
All right.
No, that's why I was saying a few minutes ago. It's
Yeah.
a ghost leaving thing that they're not able to count, ladies. It's they can't
All right.
count. They can't count people who are doing what I'm telling you about because they're still present but they're absent. When they're
Right.
present when they want to get paid and they're absent when they want to go somewhere else. And some of them don't move all the way down south. They move out in the suburbs, further
Oh,
and further
absolutely.
away. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
they're moving out of Chicago city
Right.
limits because just like she's talking about, even though the minimum wage here is $15, a lot of people, the cost of living index is so high. It
Right.
costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money to live and live comfortably in Chicago because of the parking. I brought that up in earlier discussions. You can't go anywhere anymore and just enjoy parking beside the road. Just pull over and say, I'm going to enjoy downtown and watch people walk without paying to
Right.
park. And
But
so,
here's something else though. I don't think it's necessarily. I mean, just the dollar amount, let's say, of the wage. I think it has to do with the enjoyability of the work as well, because there are jobs that they've even risen the amount of salary for, but people don't want to work the jobs because there's not they're not really enjoyable. I mean, you don't have a lot of people that are necessarily wanting to do a lot of manual labor, especially people that are educated. So perhaps a lot of just the ones that I know are leaving because of they want different opportunities. They want to be able to utilize their skill set somewhere. Some of the crime is probably one I think is the biggest factor, because a lot of people that do leave, and not necessarily leave the state, but they go out of city Chicago into other counties, is because they're looking for less crime. Especially if you have a black son, you're afraid of him getting shot, or and that actually nowadays not even just a son, anyone. It's always the crime is definitely a big consideration of that.
But you know
well, another thing that happens is the tech jobs, as the technical relationship with the jobs has given individuals better mobility. Some of the
Hmm.
people have been able to move out of Chicago and into areas where they're more comfortable. You can live a more country lifestyle. Let me say it like that, because we drive out of the city all the time to go out on the apple farms and pick apples and do stuff like that
Hmm.
because we enjoy doing that. And a lot of people still do that because we're used to doing that if we have any southern roots at all.
Right.
And
That's
so,
true.
and so, and then there are people here who in the city who really want to grow things. They want to be outside. I see people they walk down the street and look over at the little grass in front of the building sometime and wish they had a lawn to mow. That's what they will tell you when you
Oh,
walk by.
wow.
Them, I wish I had a lawn. And I'm so happy I ain't got one because I didn't want to mow. But anyway, because I got tired of mowing when I was mowing. But anyway,
Well, that is one reason. I mean, I just live in Berwyn, which is still Cook County, but I moved out of the city for that very reason, because I was in a condo, and I didn't have any grass at all. I mean, there was like
right,
gravel on the side of the building for my dog to use a bathroom, but that was
yeah.
about it.
And so that's what I'm saying. So there are a number of reasons, but I think what we're gonna want to focus on is what are the major reasons. Maybe if we say major reasons that people are moving out, and and if they can be corrected, because some of
Right.
these things cannot be changed. If
But
people
I'm
like
gonna
well,
say crime is
well,
probably the biggest. Weather can't be changed, because a lot of people they move
no
because they don't like the
you know,
cold weather.
Chicago,
no you either learn to live with Chicago weather or you have
Right,
to
or
live
not.
with
But crime is
Chicago,
something that can be changed.
Chicago created this crime.
yeah.
You know, at one time, Inglewood used to be a thriving community.
Uh-huh.
Inglewood had it going on in Chicago. It's very thriving. Lots of people live there. Lots of businesses.
Mm-hmm.
all in Inglewood. But years ago, there was a plan to tear down. Remember Cabrini Green?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. After they got rid of Cabrini Greens, then they went to the South Side and they dismantled all of those housing projects.
Robert Taylor
E-
Homes was
Even
it
the
the
ones
biggest
that
one?
was on Cicero around 43rd
Was
Street,
that LeClaire
Yeah,
Courts?
yeah.
Clare Court.
Yep.
Guess where most of those people ended up?
Where Inglewood?
And guess what else ended up there? All those gangbangers
Right.
over
Yeah.
there together.
Yep.
Okay?
And see that kind of migratory thing can go back to what we talked about the other day when it comes down to who the property owners are and who benefits from holding on to the property and whether they turn it into rental property or they wind up selling it to people. The majority of the rental units that they're owned by individuals. They're owned by, they call them slumlords in some cases because they don't go back and fix them. But those people make money off of those units by turning them into Section 8 housing. They get checks for them every month.
Right.
And
All
so,
right. That's true.
and so, yeah, and so they try to screen and put certain kinds of people in those units that they can make money off of. People with children, they claim that they are actually going through a process, but they really don't. And
Right.
so
Because
what they
many of them
do is
don't
they
care. It's just an investment for them,
well,
and
see,
they
they
don't live
cram the
in the
wrong,
building.
yeah, they cram the wrong kind of people in. We have to bring people into a process of culturalization too. Now we must admit that we have to be able to do that. Some people have to acclimate to certain environments. It's like I used to say that all the time when we made comparisons about our little HBCU school that had like 5,000 people in the student population altogether, and trying to compare ourselves to University of Michigan or Yale or some of the bigger schools with huge student population or University of Illinois. You can't. There's no way you have to, and
Right.
when you go on those campuses, you have to acclimate, to those campus sizes and get used to the fact that they're bigger and you have to know how to navigate. So that's the same way when you move in a community, right? If you move in there with the wrong mentality, then you're not going to grow, and that community's not going to grow. You're going to try to make the community fit you when you have to grow and make the community grow with you.
Right. And I mean, I
Uh,
totally agree with that, but we have to also look at the issue of, we have such I always say an extreme form of capitalism, here in the US in general, that,
cool.
ultimately when people are investing in properties, they're only looking at the financial gain piece, and any social aspect of it, gets kind of left out in the cold. So that's why, it's one of those things where, you can't necessarily have government govern that sort of thing, ensuring any social programs, because the government has proven that they do a very poor job of regulating consciousness, and regulating just kind of taking care of humanity. So that's something that, probably as a group would have to come outside of that particular confine. So,
Yeah, well,
but the problem is, if you don't do that, then, and no one really sees it, and that's how a lot of times people are taken advantage of, and you end up in
yeah,
kind of a
but see, the
situation.
government is still in a state of denial from the very beginning. And I wanted to set I wanted to really set the mood when I talked about WASP people in the government, because it's still in denial. It's still saying, "Oh no, it's not like that. We're not predominantly geared towards white Anglo-Saxon Protestant males, but it is." And so until it gets over that, and then tries to be what it has written on paper that it is, then you know we're gonna still be having the same kind of conversation years later. Uh, when it comes down to the de facto segregation, the government doesn't want to admit that it fosters de facto segregation. But then when people wind up segregated in the communities and they permit these social contracts and these covenants, that's what they call them, to be written up about where you can live and who can live there, and it winds up screening out certain people. That's segregation. That's actually supported by government policies, and so that is what is not fair. But then again, should we say it's not fair if the training and all of these other things are not commensurate with actually what the people have to have anyway. And
Right.
so if
But
you
see
bring,
that's why I just totally reject the I keep saying like the government does a very poor job of ensuring that specific minority groups are treated justly. I mean, it just because we're a capitalistic nation, and whether we like it or not, I mean that's what we live under. So I just think that it's a matter of personal responsibility, and then even just the responsibility of our own ethnic group to ensure that we are our neighborhoods are safe, and just kind of having you mentioned like a social contract, having a social contract among ourselves, because if we sit there and we wait for the government to quote unquote make things right, we might be waiting forever. So
yeah, but see, the government is actually the people in the government, that 1% that wants to protect the income ceiling, don't want social contracts between the grassroots or the masses, because they consider that to be a threat to their authority. That's why they got rid of the Panthers. I bring them up all the time, and I know you that's too much for me, but it's true. They they
right.
they adopted everything the Panthers were trying to do. Most of it you're seeing the government doing right now.
Right.
But they want
But
they didn't but they wanted to do away with the Panthers that were doing it.
right. And I agree with that. And that was kind of then, but I just think that now we're in a, we don't have as much at that time. We didn't have as much transparency as we do now. Things are, it's a little bit more difficult to do things in a vacuum nowadays, where things are wide open. We have cell phone cameras. We have I mean, things are just a lot more open. So I think that kind of like, what happened with that property that, I've used it as an example, that
Well,
was
yeah, you're
purchased on the
absolutely
south
correct.
side, and they were able to buy that. We need to start doing more things like that. And because we have internet, we have a lot more information available to us at this point in time. It's a great time to do that. I mean, it's unfortunate what happened in the past with the Panthers. I totally agree with that, but we're in a new day and age, and we have the power to do it.
We're in a
Well, we
new
do
day and
we do
age.
have the power. We know the day and age, but the general things that's going on haven't really changed that much, babe.
Never
And
has
and
changed.
to be honest about it, I mean, we can sit here and paint it up if we want to, but the dents in the car gonna still be there until you straighten them out and you put whatever color you paint it. And so when it comes down to what really is going on, it just graduates to a higher level and gets a different name,
Um,
but it's still going on.
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm just saying that the power structure has shifted. We have a lot of people that are not, you know, part of that any longer. And it's just a matter of making, because I mean, just look at
Wait, wait,
now
wait, wait,
how
wait, wait,
you
wait.
have so many black middle class and upper class that have made it. It's a matter of doing it and changing our mindset. I think that at this time, it's more of an internal mental game that we need to change, and we have the ability to change.
There
Well,
That's
I
is
that's
wish
what I think.
I wish that was I wish it was that cut and dry. But
there's
basically, with the
nothing
black
mental about
people,
it.
it seems like the more successful we have become as black people, the more we tend to gravitate away from what we need to be doing.
And
There are a
that's
whole
the
there are a
mental
whole
part
lot
that
of
I'm talking
colleagues of
about.
mine that will not do what I'm doing tonight to sit down with you all and have a conversation. In
Exactly.
fact, one of them wrote me the other day And he said, because I put on one of my little pages that, the professor's corner or something I called it. And
Okay.
and he came back with this word, oh, you calling yourself professor again now, like it was a joke. But to me, I got on here and told y'all I didn't want to be called nothing because I am who I am. I'm a 6'7" handsome, intelligent, black, well-educated Negro man. You
I didn't know
call me
you're that
whatever,
tall. Wow.
And so
Oh,
anyway,
he's tall.
because I'm
He
sitting
makes
down to keep you from thinking I'm tall. But
he makes
anyway,
he
when it
makes
comes
us
down
look
to
like
that,
midgets.
every morning I stand up, I'm gonna be tall, and so I don't have to blast that out, but I need to use it to come back to lift the short people up when they can't reach the shelf. I need to pick the book up for them that's too tall for them to reach and hand it to them so they can see the right. And if they can't read it, it's my job to read it
Mm-hmm.
for them. And so that's the only thing I profess that we need to do. And some of us are not doing that. Once we get
Right.
to a certain level and start driving around in the big cars and stuff, we forget where we're from.
Right.
And then when
And
we're
that and
doing
that's
that,
and you know what though, but you're actually making my point of the fact that it's all mental in terms of, not to say all of it, but I'm saying the majority of it nowadays really is. We have the power to do it, but it's so easy to, like you said, forget where you come from, or oh, okay, I've made it out the quote unquote ghetto and I'm not going to go back and help anyone. I mean, you have
yeah,
people
well,
that do that
but
even within
we
a
teach we,
family.
we teach people that when they need to come out the ghetto, it's the mentality that has to go. The
Right.
Not
ghetto,
only done, not only is it the mentality.
yes,
Okay, there's a reality out here that we must face. They
absolutely.
talk about history repeating itself. And if you look at the things that are going on in Washington right now, just look at the Supreme Court.
Hmm.
Just look at the politicians that are in Washington. Right now, they're not afraid of nothing. They let you know that they racist.
Of course they do because
Okay?
see,
And
they
I'm
they, they are just that WASP mentality. They know that you can get to a certain point and you can't look the football and the players that making all these millions of dollars. The owners already know. They know how far those guys can go,
Right.
even in the media or
But that's
anything else.
all more the reason for us to get our act together. And that's my only point is that, I mean, yes, the government has a history of this and that, but
they
despite all
still have
odds,
a
you have a very large group of black people that have quote unquote financially made it. And to me, if we really care about the group, we have to go back and lift each other up. Okay,
I
no
agree.
matter what the
I
government
agree.
does, whether they're doing something good or not, and I think that a lot of us, we miss the mark on doing that. We don't really collectively help each other, because I
Well,
mean, we talked about how consumers, how much we're, as a consumer block, African Americans are worth, I mean, billions of dollars.
Mhm.
So we can do it. We have the financial wherewithal.
every time we look at our gross national product impact, it's a shame. $3.9 trillion can fuel can actually operate a whole nother country,
Yep.
and that's us. But
Right.
it's all split up in different areas and for different reasons because I can't say all of the people who have become successful haven't come back and helped people because LeBron James has opened schools and I can just go
Yep.
down the list of different
And
celebrities who,
people not so famous have done a
yeah,
lot
people, yeah,
too.
that's right. They have gone back to help and they're helping and they have
Yeah.
tax exempt organizations, nonprofits that they run. But when it comes down to allowing those people to come together, like they expect us to come together when they want us to vote, okay?
Right.
When a candidate's running and he wants the black vote, he'll go out and say all the things in the world that he think black people want to hear while he's running for office, and won't do any of them when he wins. But just like Governor Pritzker, when he ran, he was just pro black, and I kept looking for him. I kept waiting on him to say, what he was going to do to promote black entrepreneurship in Illinois. And I haven't heard that yet. And if you listen to his conversation, though, he's done everything to bring people forward. But entrepreneurship is going to be the only thing that's going to help our people to advance past where we are. Because we got to have our own businesses. We got to have our own means of making income, produce income. We got to make our own way to produce wealth in the black community. We must have that. And unless we do, then we'll still be subject to going to somebody else telling us what to do and paying us what they want to pay us.
No. Well, one thing I will say, and this is and I do not support him at all. However, I would say as a result of the like the PPP loans and all of that, they're saying this is out of University of California, Santa Cruz. One of the economists said that black business ownership is now up by almost 30% on pre-pandemic levels. And a lot of that really does have to do with that, with the PPP loans. I know there's some people that just did it and, didn't do anything with it or something like that. But there has been a big increase on that. So that was very helpful.
Yeah, the only thing PPP did was it stopped all of the foot dragging and lying that was going on with the SBA. When you had to make a application to SBA, to get a small business loan, and they made you jump through all these loops and hoops and whatever, and then when you came back, they came up with an excuse where we waited a little too long. Now we got to wait till the next funding cycle, and people just got tired. Black folk did.
Yeah,
because they use everything. Look, they got 3 credit agencies that pick up information on all 3 of us right now without our permission, and make it bad if they want to, and we got to go prove that we didn't do it just because our name got mixed up with somebody else. They got a guy with my name in Texas that I don't know nothing about, and I get bills about him sometimes, and I have to let people know I'm not that Donald Kincaide. So, and so we have to. There are a lot of things that we can straighten out, but there are a lot of things that they got to straighten out because some are crooked intentionally by design, systemically put there to make sure that there's no advancement. That's why Bronzeville is not flourishing in Chicago anymore. It was a black community with all those good businesses going on down there.
But it is on the upswing, though, Bronzeville.
I love it, baby, but I'm talking about where it used to be and where it ought to be now. It's nowhere close to that because they didn't pump the money over there. They should have gone there. When you go downtown, they came downtown and eliminated a park in the middle of Chicago to put Trump Tower downtown, didn't they?
Yeah.
Didn't they?
Oh, I didn't know there was a park there.
Oh, it was a park there. It was very nice. But
right there by the river.
Yeah.
Okay, but they are having a conniption over where to put President Obama's library.
Oh, they fought. Didn't they fight?
Yeah, I think they fought, but I think it has been determined.
Of course, it has been determined, but there should never been. Look, that's something that a president is doing for the city that we need to have anyway. We didn't need Trump Tower. We had all kind of hotels in Chicago already.
Right. Well, that happened before Trump was president, but we all know that money is when you have.
No, you missed the point. You missed the point.
Thank you.
He said they went out of their way to put Trump Tower downtown.
Right. No, I understand that, but I'm saying it was before he was president, though, and
it doesn't matter.
Right. No. I know, but I think we're
African American.
Right, and we're making
and they took him through all kind of changes to put a presidential library in Chicago.
Right.
No, I understand. Ludicrous.
I understand, but
guess how many friends of Obama were black? Most of them were white.
Right, and I understand that because my point, though. Right, but my point is that money really no pun intended, trumps it all. So when you're a billionaire and you're able to do, I mean, there's a lot of things that they can do that
What happens
people
when
that
you're a
don't have the
con
same kind of
artist?
So
means.
do you really think
And
Trump
I'm
is a
not making
billionaire?
He's a
excuses for it. I'm
con
just saying that
artist.
that's what it is.
No, do you think Trump is a billionaire really?
Well,
He's a
No,
con artist.
okay, because I deal with economics as well. So now look at where Trump does not even own his own brand. He don't own the Trump on that building
yeah.
down there.
Well, let's just say this, I mean that's a whole other can of worms.
No,
I'm just going with.
I want to throw him out of the conversation where he
Yeah,
needs to be.
no. I'm just,
In the
but
first
that's
place.
what I'm saying. I'm not talking about whether he is or not, because that definitely is very much up for debate, and that's why he's going to be going to court over that whole thing of how he does
That's
financially.
why he
I'm
should
just
be in
talking on the
prison.
face of
If
things,
he was
as
a
far as
black
what we.
man, he would be in jail now.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean that we already know. Yeah.
Okay.
So now what do we think though? Just we're getting a little bit off topic in terms of the future and really kind of attracting people back, black people specifically, back to Chicago. I mean, is all hope lost, or
No, I
can we
think
just
they need to.
can we just chalk it up as like, okay, well, migration patterns are changing?
No, I think they need to concentrate on. First of all, they need to concentrate on STEM patterns, and plus they need to improve the system of dealing with geriatrics in Chicago, because a lot of people are moving. So the ones who want to take care of their parents and stuff like that, who still want to go to work, you can't rely on some of the in-home services they have here to be reliable and take care of the people on the level they have multitude of lawsuits now about mistreatment of people in the homes and stuff like that.
Is that a Chicago thing, or is that a US thing?
That's a Chicago thing as well. But we're talking about what they need to do here. So I'm going to talk about Chicago and all the rest of the places where it's happening at. I hope it happens and we can talk to them and maybe go to their place and talk the same conversation to them. Let's talk about Chicago, because Chicago should have better record, because there are better educated people up here, more concerned people, individuals with more money, black people with more money up here than in a lot of places. So look, we can speak up. There are folks who have voices just like mine, who can speak up and say stuff and get things done that we want to get done. So those people, if we need to come together, let's do that. Let's not be divided over who's in a Methodist church or who's in a Baptist church or what. All the churches come together and let's say this is the common good for everybody. If the educational systems are terrible, let's admit it. Let's not sit here.
Now, here's a question for you. Speaking of church, it seems that a lot of, especially younger black people, are not really following the church like they used to. Do you think that the church, the black church, still has a place in, as far as being like, one of the centerpieces of the community?
No, because see, before the black church the black church was as important as a home. It was more like home than home for some people, because they felt comfortable there and felt like they were a part of a family of people. When they went back home, especially coming to the cities, people up here, they don't even greet each other like people down south do. Right. Everybody's kind of like going about their business and I don't mean this, but I don't know you. So like
very cold.
They walk right up in the church and don't say good morning.
That's right up in the church. Last time I went to church here, I got up and walked out, because I don't raise my finger up like walking across when I go. I'm too big. People know I'm up, so I want to go to the bathroom. I got ready to go to the restroom, and I had to go from the front all the way back down because they brought us up front. I don't know why, but anyway, coming down, and I asked the lady, could I go? And they had the center line, the center aisle roped off like you were going in a movie
in the club.
Yeah, in the club or whatever. And so I'm thinking I'm standing there wanting to go to the bathroom, so I just wanted to move the rope. She's showing me I need to go around.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm even now. So I'm saying to myself, when I got in the car, I just said to myself, well, she might not realize it, but I was going to pee on myself up there in the church. So, so I didn't want to stand up there, and do that. So she shouldn't. I didn't want to tell her. I just asked, may I go to the restroom, please, and pointed. And she kept motioning me, and I had to walk all the way around an aisle of pews to come down the other way when she could have moved the rope.
And
Now, what kind of hospitality is that?
Mm-hmm. So so are you saying that we've kind of lost our way in terms of having a church that has the same values from the South?
Yeah, but so look, there's no. I talked to all my. Look, I grew up doing gospel music, so we know the difference between people shouting and folks just up dancing and falling out on the floor. So anyway, we were talking about that the other day, and that is that people doing all the praise dancing and all the formalities and stuff like that, but then when the older women who really do shout get to shout, and they act like they shame on them.
Oh.
And so, that ain't right. And a whole lot of older people are the ones who feel that. And then a whole lot of middle-aged people who feel it may not say they feel it, but then they don't like it because they don't want you disrespecting the older people either. Because if she's my grandmama and she decided to shout and her wig fall off, pick a wig up, straighten it back up, and go up there and fan her till she cool off.
So what it sounds like to me is that there is a cultural divide now among the generations, right?
That's what I just said a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
When I brought up the thing about the baby boomers.
Yeah. So
we need
the folks from the South, and even I feel it. Even I mean, I'm 52, and I can feel that from my generation. I'm going to say probably from my generation on up. We still have, kind of some of the Southern values that are, because my parents were from the South, born, raised, and they came up through the Great Migration. So, the whole thing, kind of like what you mentioned, KL, about walking into a room and saying good morning or good afternoon or speaking to people, walking onto an elevator and saying hello to someone. That's something that we grew up with, this kind of a value, and you better not, not speak to somebody. You're like, well, now people have their own cell phones, but back in the day, you call someone's house, whoever answers the phone, you say, "Oh, hi, good afternoon, how you doing? May I speak to such and such?"
Absolutely.
And now that it's just like this younger generation, probably the Gen X or not Gen Z and millennials, they don't really have that.
Well, they don't have really some of the, and I don't blame them because as parents have gotten younger, some of them didn't like being disciplined the way we disciplined them growing up or whatever. And so they said they weren't going to train their kids that way. And so those kids are in the, teenage and 20, 24, 25, 30 year age groups now. And so I hope that they will. One thing that I wanted to bring up, like, we used to always make it a practice that it was a certain order that we went in when we got ready to eat dinner, eat at the table. You got there, and the table was set, and everybody, and the parent, the father was served, and so people don't believe in doing that anymore for some reason.
Well, there's no respect, or they don't even believe. Now here's something that kind of add in that same category, just calling an adult, calling them by just their first name without saying Mr. or Ms. Like for me, like for young kids, I mean, if you're under 21, you're gonna call me Miss Lorie,
right?
And that's how I want to be addressed, especially with a child talking. And but you have some people, they'll just boldly call them, their first name, and I'm like, well, no, I mean, maybe I'm old fashioned, but I don't go for that.
But that's what I'm saying.
And, when you talk about respecting adults, now you got some young people are different because I have some nieces that are like in their 30s, and they have friends, but they have this one friend in particular that likes to call their mother by her first name.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
they are like 31, maybe 31, 33. You know what? They don't like that. And they went to their mother
Mm.
and they said, look, we don't like her calling you by your first name. We don't want
Yeah.
her calling you so and so and so.
Disrespectful.
She's supposed to put a handle on that or put some respect on that name.
Right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I agree with that. I really do.
These
Except
people
that
went to their parents and told them, I don't appreciate
that's absolutely true because somewhere along the line, when I see people on TV crying about something happened to the children, oh, everybody's child that something happened to is the perfect child. Is getting ready to go to school and hasn't done anything wrong.
They show the 8th grade graduation picture.
Yeah, and
That's
all of that.
always.
And so, and I wanted to bring that into this discussion anyway.
and haven't been
The
to school
picture they
since eighth
paint
grade.
of Chicago in terms of crime is nothing compared to the national thing that's going on across this nation. And when I told you about per capita, I meant that. Memphis, they killing people left and right up there every side of town you think about. And
Mm.
so, and I'm not talking about something I heard. I'm telling you what God knows is the truth. There are
Mm.
places that are close to here. Detroit, or any place that we can talk about. But you know why they do Chicago so bad? Because Chicago's been the Mecca for so long. The Mecca for people to escape and say, that's where I want to go from. If I ever really want to get free, I go to Chicago. That was fixed in everybody's mind in the
Right.
South that wanted to come up here. If they said, if I could ever make it to Chicago, that's where I could be free at. That's where I
Right.
know. And that's what they believe. And when you get people believing that, they'll get out and do whatever it takes to get up here to try to do it. They'll be very disappointed when they get here and find out it's not that way. But
Right. Well, I mean, it's the third largest city, so of course, I mean, anything that happens in Chicago, what is it, or New York, L.A., Chicago, is going to be high profile, whether it's reality or not. People are, I mean, to your point, I mean, it's in such a it's so high profile,
yeah,
then
but
it
no, no,
becomes a
no.
thing.
See, I get calls from people all the way all across the country, and they tell me about what's going on in Chicago. That means it's across the country news.
Oh, absolutely.
And the high profile does not look. If they don't look when William Kennedy Smith, and I hate to keep bringing stuff like that up, but when William Kennedy Smith got involved in that incident where that lady got killed, it was high profile, right?
Right.
And everybody across the country heard about it for a long time, didn't
Absolutely.
it? Right?
Wait, who
Now,
William Kennedy? Which
now
one was that?
where I'm going with that is
But who
once
was
they
William
want to
Kennedy
be,
Smith?
William Kennedy Smith is related to John F. Kennedy and them. He's one of the
Was he a nephew? I think he was a nephew.
Oh, when the nephew.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, right,
Yeah.
absolutely, yep,
Okay, now
yep. I remember
when
that.
that stayed out there for a minute,
Yep,
but when they wanted to squash it, it left. Right, you didn't hear about it no more.
right, because once again, money and influence. Yeah.
Okay, so now here's the thing that we got to do in Chicago. Black people have to do this. If we can use the internet to some girl got some twerking on one of my pages. Wait a minute, it's not
Sex
that
sells.
no, I love women with big behinds, I love them, but now I don't want to see that when I turn my page on.
Right.
Because you know where to go across your page at and say my story or whatever. Well, my story's over here to the left, and then here's some buttocks next to my face on my page. Well, if we can do that, though, now it's just funny a little bit, but if we can do that to get attention, why can't we do the opposite and
do something opposite. That's true.
I know we're talking about Black History.
We're about to wrap up in 2 minutes.
Okay, I know, but I got to throw this out there.
Okay.
You know, there's something that's going on right now. People are not talking about it. They talked about it a little bit this morning on the news, but they kind of trying to sweep it up on the rug. What's his name? Clarence Thomas.
Yes.
His wife. You know, she was part of that that Trump thing.
Absolutely.
All right. She was a part of that. I mean, she was spearheading some of that action when they went up there and took over the Capitol. She had a lot to do with that. And he's a Supreme Court judge.
Yeah, that's true.
Now,
well,
wait a minute. Think if you had been married to a Black woman and she had been part of that insurrection out there spearheading some of that, they would have threw her out and him out too.
Yeah.
So we're going to be wrapping up, but we're going to continue the conversation. So I just wanted to close out our segment of our 4-part series. So it's been fun, and stick around for the after show. Well, we'll continue to talk about that. But thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
All right, we can continue. I'm sorry, I just want to wrap that up before we.
All right, I just wanted to say that we're living in a time they talk about history repeat itself, and I'm telling you, I can see it happening every day. Every day. When I watch this show called Court TV, okay, and I tell you some of the stuff that I see, it just angers me, and it angers me because this is some of the stuff that I know about from the 60s and the 70s.
Well, let me tell you what happened. Yeah, KL, let me tell you what happened, really, in reality. Back in 1978, there was a lawsuit that wasn't widely advertised, but this Black woman sued the Ku Klux Klan because they were an organization. They had a organization. They both acting like a nonprofit or whatever. But anyway, she sued them because one of her children got killed.
Mm-hmm.
She won the lawsuit and broke them. But then they decided that they were going to turn around. That's when David Dukes and all of them Southern guys got into it. They were Grand Wizards and all that. They made a pledge that they were going to take over public offices. They were going to Klanize the police force, Klanize the sheriff deputies, Klanize the highway patrolmen, all the people who wore guns, who had a legitimate reason to keep, to shoot permission-wise. Because when they bring the Army soldiers up here, they walk around with their weapons, but they cannot shoot citizens in America. But these other people who they can shoot. They can shoot. All the people I'm talking about can do the same thing you see them doing. They shoot folks, and there's no question about it. They pull their weapon and know that they have permission to shoot. Now, do you know whether they're Klansmen or not? No, because they don't ask those kind of questions. And so, until we are able to address that was a plan, and that they put that plan into action. See, the first thing you saw in the insurrection, and I'm going to leave this alone after this because I want you to put the mental energy in your mind. First thing you saw that group go into the Capitol building was a rebel flag and a guy with a big old Viking thing on his head.
Absolutely.
They were rebelling against the government because they believe that the rebels, that the South is going to rise again and ultimately overthrow the government. And that's pitiful.
Well, I mean, that's what Trump was trying to do. And you still got some of them out there that they still believe that those lies that he told. You got a lot of people that still believe that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want to talk about election that's gonna come up.
You
What's
see,
that?
it
24?
doesn't hurt me.
No
It
problem.
doesn't hurt me for people like Trump to do that because at least they're out front doing it. It's when our people who are confused enough to try to support it get out and wanna. There's no way I can support that. There's no
Right.
way. No, I mean I don't care. And I know a
So do
whole
you
lot of
think
different
that
kind
they
of
should? Wait
history
a minute.
books
Do
and
you think?
everything else, but there's no way I can support any of that foolishness like that. Now, even
Okay,
with the monuments, when they start talking about the monuments and stuff, I tell
mhm,
people, okay, well, the flags and the monuments don't worry so much about them. Worry about what's inside the people who carry them and go out there and support them being there.
Right.
Try to change the inside of those folks.
okay. I wanna answer to this question. Do you think that Clarence Thomas should recuse himself on some of the cases that are going before the Supreme Court, and of course, some of the things that are happening with Donald Trump?
I
I,
absolutely.
I think, yeah, I don't think Clarence Thomas should have ever voted on any kind of issue involving women because
Well,
he
I
went
think they
in.
should find a way to throw him out the Supreme Court because of his old
I
wife.
don't think he should have ever been because he was confused. See, when you go through school and become a judge or a lawyer through affirmative action programs, and the first thing you oppose when you get on the Supreme Court
Yeah.
is affirmative action, that sounds a bit confused to me.
Hmm.
And so I don't think anyone who's that confused needs to be judge in a judge's position with at the highest court. I never felt like when they questioned, and I wasn't trying to attack his character or anything because
Well, I'm trying to attack his character because
no, I'm trying to attack his mentality. It's another thing altogether. His character, it may God can fix him in the character area. I hope, but the mentality that he has,
Maybe, maybe not.
but no, but that's what we've been addressing here too, and that is people who develop that kind of mentality need to have a reality check because in the end result, they're shooting all these rockets and stuff up trying to go into outer space now. When those people who are trying to get off the earth because they feel like they've messed it up so bad, eventually it's gonna be some catastrophic thing that's killing everybody. They want to be the ones that say the last few people and they're gonna be out of space. But now are they gonna think about us being part of that, no matter how much money we have?
Mhm.
Now, that's a good question that we need to be able to ask. Are they going to say, well, now is a good time for us not have to worry about that no more. Let's just get on here and get away from there. Or are they going to say, well, let's come on, we want to do like Noah did. We get some of everybody. No,
Not in here today.
that's kind of deep, ain't it?
Yeah, that's real deep. They ain't gonna do that.
No,
Right.
you know it not. And
Mm-mm.
so when it comes down to us dealing with the grim realities. And that's one reason I went on because hey, you know how I am about wanting to do shows and stuff. I want to do what I can do, the best thing I know how to do, and I try to do it from my heart. But when it comes down, when I found out Opinionated Lorie was real, then I decided I want to come on here with you all and have this right here. Let's
Well,
do it.
we glad you came home.
Yes, we are.
You are
And
you are very knowledgeable, and the thing is, you're not afraid to say what's on your mind.
Hmm.
well, I grew up like this. I was more, I lost my mom real early, but she trained me how to be who I needed to be before she left me. And so, like I told you in a conversation we had a long time ago, her voice guided me through all of the all the grades I ever made.
Hmm.
She told me whether I whether I was putting the right answer down or not. But anyway, that was her. And but when it comes down to that, I think that we all have to have a a degree of understanding to the point where we know that it's our obligation to come back to our people who don't know any better, who want to do better. Now, there are some who don't.
Right.
And so we can't go out there and just and make them do something they don't want to do. But the ones who really want to, then those are the ones that I think we need to try to help. When
Yep.
they were lining up around all of these food lines they had, giving boxes of food away,
Mm-hmm.
I used to sit and wonder. I said, I wonder how many people are going to go and get the food they're rationing out in these boxes and pick through it and throw the rest of any of it away when they should take it and pass it on to somebody hungry.
Yep.
You
But
know, and
here's something else too. Now, when you're talking about people that, if they kind of knowing what to do, let's say like with the food, sometimes they may get something that they don't know how to cook. They've never encountered it before.
well, baby, we can Google everything else, and
Right.
look, you can go on YouTube and get everything from cooking a snake to catch him and skin him, and they show you how to do the whole thing. So there's no excuse for that.
I mean, I say that to say
See, the reason I brought that up is
Mhm.
because I have a tax exempt organization or a nonprofit called iCare Universal. Walmart used to throw bins and bins of food away. I mean, you go behind Walmart and they would all these hams and everything. They had dated food back in the day. And we went back one day. I was going back there, drive back to empty some stuff out of my car. And I looked at Jesus, where all this stuff, and got out and looked, all those, the hams and stuff like that.
right.
These things, now they were not spoiled. They just had the date that run out on them, okay? Which means they could have been cooked and served to somebody hungry. And so I went to the manager and asked him at that store, because, I'm just like that. I said, sir, why y'all throw the food back away? Can a organization come and get the food? No, there's a law that says we can't do that. And so on and so forth. I looked him straight in the face and told him that's a lie. Bill Clinton passed a law that will let people do that. Maybe you all don't have it or haven't read it. I'll go pull it up and bring you a copy of it. And I walked away and went and found it and took it back there and gave it to him. Because people will hide behind any kind of lie if you let them get away with it.
Yep. And sometimes, and let me just kind of add to that, and kind of like what my point was before is that sometimes if they're not used to being in a certain environment, or they're not used to seeing certain things, just even getting back to the food, let's say they have some parsnips in there, if they've never been exposed to parsnips and they're, that's nasty food, I don't know what that, so they may not realize that that's something that they can eat, or that's something that would be good, because they just haven't been, and you can Google anything, but if you're not used to being in that kind of or experiencing that kind of food or being in that kind of environment, you're not going to know. So I think that it's one of those things where, like with little kids, for example, I love to introduce kids to different types of food that they've never had. They might see something like, for example, I took some niece and nephews at one point in time to have like Ethiopian food. They'd never seen that. And they're like, oh my God, that's disgusting, eating with your hands. But anyway, after they tried it, they loved it. So sometimes it's just a matter of having patience and introducing people to certain things.
When you were talking about them throwing the food away, was there a reality show at one time? People were doing what they call dumpster diving.
Yeah, there were these quote unquote super cheap people, and they were going in there. There's one lady, she wanted to, I think she was in New York, and she was trying to pay off her condo, but she would actually, and I think she was an accountant, in fact, but she was actually going into like different stores and going into their dumpsters and utilizing the food. So,
so that
and wait a minute, they also had a group that would go into the dumpsters and they would get out the best stuff, and then they would set up a food. They would set up a food giveaway.
Yeah, and what we did with that at that particular area, there was a down south area, but as a result of that, our care Walmart wound up being one of our major contributors when it comes down to our food bank. We started a penny sandwich, that's what we called it, penny sandwich ministry, where the ladies get together and they go and they feed individuals. They make sandwiches and so on and so forth. And the children get together and help do that so we can teach them a sense of responsibility, of humility, because we talk about charity beginning at home, but how much charity we teach the kids now, and we have to keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a matter of efforts like this. If this group grows in the six, and then it goes to the 600, and then goes to 6,000, because it will do that, because there are people out there who are trying, and their voice hasn't been heard. That this has, and we're going to give them a voice, hopefully. And I thank you for giving a voice, because a lot of people need to hear that. Some people are afraid to speak up because so many people look at them like it's something wrong and tell them they stuck. Oh man, you just stuck back in the day, and you stuck. You stuck because you want to do something right. Stuck because you want to open the door for a lady. You stuck trying to be a gentleman. You open your umbrella and put it out over Katie's head so she won't get wet. Am I stuck? No, I'm not, and I'm not stupid either. Because otherwise, it's not because I'm trying to be up close to her either. It's because I don't want her to be wet or you to be wet because you're a lady. And I know I'm gonna get dry, but tomorrow, after you get home and you would dry because I made you dry, you're gonna say he's a nice guy. And that's all the result. That's all the reward that we need.
But
But
we got to wrap this up. But I do want to say this before we go. Young men that were brought up back in the day,
yes,
they're not the young men that are being brought up today.
so not.
Okay.
For many reasons.
I'm not saying, and I'm not saying all of them, because I know some young men that are in their 20s and in their 30s. I even know one that's about 15. Very, very. I know some very respectful young men, but I know. Listen, I know some. You can be shoveling your snow, and they'll be standing on their porch smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they don't have that respect.
Nope.
Okay,
Because see, the mamas back when we were growing up, Katie, wouldn't let us stand up and watch nobody do that. They wouldn't let us sit down if the lady was had to stand up. They would look at you and say, "Why are you still sitting down?" And that's how people have to have that brought up in them. But somewhere along the line, we've lost that, and I wish we could get it back, because it's so important when it comes down to us going back and claiming our masculinity. That's what they wanted to do away with in the first place. That's
But
what
it's a cultural divide, though. I think that once again it gets back to the that our Southern past. I mean, we had those sort of kind of mores and values that we followed at that time. But now, I mean, it's a big cultural shift. So, and I don't know
see
if we're going to be going back to that.
the
I
thing that
doubt we will.
the thing that frightens me more than anything else is what I see happening in the school systems that I've had to remember. I told you I wanted to try to examine school systems a long time ago, because I think after the child leaves home, the school is the second most important thing that happens to him when he leaves away from his parents and gets on the bus or whatever and goes to the school, and preschool all the way through. He's being socialized and culturalized into something else. And he can leave home doing one thing and go to school and get exposed to something else that'd be totally different from what you're trying to teach him at home when you get back, if you don't watch it.
he
Yeah.
may not even know.
Yeah, because you got peers, you got his peers out there that he's going to want to try to assimilate. And so that's what all of the gangster guys now have tried to capitalize on. You know, the older, they say the OGs, believed in protecting the community. You know, there was a lot of, hostility going on between them, but it was more about territorial things that were going on. Now, it ain't about that. It's about what color you wear or the way you walk or whatever else. You can't go to this place. And then they want to tag bridges and do all this stuff right here and claim territory that doesn't belong to them. And because if something belongs to you, take care of it, right?
Right. But you have to also look at, especially for the young men, that you have a lot of people that are they don't have fathers in the home, so they really don't have a positive male role model. So a lot of them are starved for looking for a role model.
Back then there were single women having babies, but you know who the male role
but not as
was?
many though. That's the thing.
No, probably even more then.
No,
because
because the marriage rate for African Americans, for the population in general, has fallen greatly. But for us, even more so, that a lot of Black women are not getting married for a variety of reasons.
Listen, I'm talking about before the Great Migration, girl. I'm going way back with it.
Yeah, no, but I know, but I'm just saying, but the Black marriage rate has fallen, though.
I know it, but listen to me.
Yep.
Listen to me. I didn't realize this until I got to be grown. And then, talking to my aunts and find out, girl, people would get married at 15. Women back then, they were having babies at 14 and 15. Okay? But you know who the male role models were? They were uncles. They were the men. Listen, they were the men in the community. Because back then, baby, if you did something wrong, they would step up in your butt. And then when your mother got home, she'd step up in your butt too.
That's
right. But guess what though? We don't have that anymore.
Kids today, they can have both parents at home, and they can do something wrong. And if you say something, you might lose your life.
Yeah, but they don't. There's no positive, whether it's the father or whomever. There's a lack of positive male role models. A lot of them, the male role models, are in jail. Some of them are dead.
13th Amendment. Let me shut up.
I mean, it's just it is what it is. I mean, we can see it. We can see it in the streets.
Well, in a lot of ways, baby, it's very complex. But then again, when you look at it from a spiritual perspective, it's not, because it got started way back when Cain and Abel was here. So if we go back and we want to deal with it on the level where it really comes from, but if we want to bring it up to date and stay with it that way and and call it something else, then fine. But it really is that, because there was no reason for Cain to kill his brother, but it happened in his family. And of course, that we can't argue with that because it's written, and one back there to refute it, to say it didn't happen. So since they wrote it down, that happened back then. And look at what's going on now. You got divisions in families. No matter, even the pristine families with both parents have problems with the children feeling like one is being mistreated, and they go around and let people talk in their ears the wrong thing. They listening to the wrong people. You got folks telling them, "Oh, we care more about you than your parents anyway." And so those girls are the ones, if you could find them, they're the ones that are on the missing list most of the time, because they're leaving home at such an early age, listening to somebody they don't need to hear. And then they're young guys. Young guys care more about going to jail than they do about going to school. And then of course the school system itself has responded with that, by wanting to put mostly females in charge of the principalships and so on and so forth, and take away the strong male role models in school. If you look at it across the board, down south, that's what they've done in mostly all the school systems, because the superintendents are either white women or white men who feel comfortable with women more so than they do with men. So they put them over the principalship of the school. Now, what are boys going to do when they get to the point where you need to really tighten up on them when it comes down to a woman trying to tell them something to do? Are they going to respond as well to her as they would to me? Or am I going to just, by virtue of who I am, when I stand up and look at it and say, well, I mean, I really wouldn't think that's a wise idea for you to do that. That's all I would have to say, and not holler at him or say nothing. Because he's going to look at me and say, I don't know, well, this fool's going to jump across the table. I told a boy that in school one time. He told me, he said, well, how much money you make? That's about
He asked you
$58,000.
that?
Yeah. He's
Oh
up
my
in my
goodness.
class terrorizing my teacher. And
Oh my
they
God.
sent him to my office. So I'm sitting behind the desk like, how much money you make, man? And I said, well, about 58,000 a year. Man, I could pay you that in a week. I mean, the way I be
Oh my
rolling.
goodness gracious.
He wasn't lying. That he would have been arrested for peddling dope.
Wow.
And so I knew it because I had read that. And so I told him, yeah, but can you keep me out of jail? Well,
Good answer.
No, man. Well, I just said, well, no, that's
I
what I
guess
want to know.
not.
Can you keep me out of jail? First of all, because the job I'm in now, they're not going to arrest me for coming to work every day. And you're going, they're going to eventually pick you up. And then I ain't going to have nobody to pay me because you're going to be gone. And so another thing is that since you had your question, let me ask you mine. Do you realize that I am prone to lose my mind? He said, what that mean, man? I said, well, some days I'm calm and pleasant and whatever. And other days I'm a damn fool enough to jump across this desk and choke you and do all kinds of stuff and all kinds of stuff like that. So I wouldn't bother me on that day if I was you. And you ain't gonna never know what day it is because I'm gonna have a necktie on, walking down the hall every day, and you don't know what mood I'm in until you come and
oh my God. And what did he say to that one?
I ain't tripping your butt now, am I? And I said, I don't know yet. Let me hold on, let me see a minute.
Let me check in with myself and see.
Because what I did was you have to switch roles with them and find out where they at.
Right.
And I let him know that since you want to be ignorant with me, and I could probably get a bit more than that. Because his thing was all of them felt like we as administrators and teachers was supposed to put our hand on them. But they were supposed to get mad even when they fighting and hit one of us. And I told them, no, that don't work with me. I'd rather go home than have somebody put their hand on me because I don't fight fair. That's been my statement to everybody. I don't fight fair. So I had to pray real hard every morning before I get here, so I won't have to deal
was
with
that a high school? That was, or was that a high school?
Well, see, I taught at a university.
Oh, this was okay. So this was at a university. Was that in the South or in the North?
No, the instance with the young man was when I was academic manager with the Department of Labor in Mississippi. They had
so this was in Mississippi. Okay.
Yeah. And so this was a troubled youth program they had.
Ah, okay.
And then we had teachers who taught math and English and reading and all that, so they make preparation for GED. Because actually, what I tried to do was split between young adults in college, and then understanding what was going on in the even younger ones, so that you wouldn't get out of touch with reality. Because the kids do change as time goes by, and of course, that's why I was working with that particular program. When it comes down to working with individuals up here, I see a whole lot of things they could do to improve CPS programs here. And they're simple things. They're not complex at all. So people can fuss about making money all they want to, but some of the things can be corrected by simple what I call SOP, standard operating procedures.
Mm-hmm.
They were to be able to adjust the standard operating procedures and make them equivalent and equal across the board, where they are fair to the people and make it
Yep.
comfortable for people. Then it would make a whole lot of difference, of course. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, when it comes, you can pour money in all the programs, but if people are not happy when they go every day, and you do have some people out there in the school systems now who go to work every day, but they don't really want to be there. So they
Right.
need to identify those people real early and get them something else to do. And so
Well,
they won't
here's
have
the other thing too is that in some cases, especially I know like with like high school and public schools in general, it's kind of a thankless job, and they're not really being compensated really for what they have to go through as well. So I think there's probably a certain amount of burnout that could possibly happen.
what I really think that they can do on this, the Band-Aid thing that's going on, that they try to give them all this time off. The more and more time they spend, I think the school days ought to be extended to more days than they actually go to school now. Because
Mm-hmm.
because if they do not, when they wind up with catastrophic days they can't go, you can't
Right.
make those
Right.
days up anymore. And
Yep.
so
That's
another thing that's going, and what you have learned also with the pandemic, everybody felt like if they were given the option of having a home study courses and whatever,
mm-hmm.
that they would be more effective being at home. And they did
Yep.
worse with the home study than they did going to school.
Yep. Yeah, we
And
learned a
so,
lot over this time. But you know what? I'm gonna wrap this session up, the after party. Thank you all for
yeah, of
joining
course.
the show. And KL, you got any remarks you want to make before we close it out?
I know, but we will see them next Tuesday.
We will
Oh,
see you next Tuesday, and we'll be
and
sending out the subjects of what we're going to be discussing then
and I
in the
want
next coming
everybody to
days.
join. I do ask everybody to come back on Saturday at 5 and join Lady Petite's live stream. They're doing a show on Black History.
Oh, nice! Definitely got to
Uh-huh.
tune in.
All
Yeah, I
right.
mean, and sometime before tax season is over, we had promised that we were gonna talk about the people's income tax thing or whatever.
You,
Uh,
you should do that next. You should do that next Tuesday.
Yep, absolutely. You know, I would like to get some maybe not next Tuesday, but
Mhm.
we want to get some guests. And actually, if anyone wants to contact us, if you are a tax professional,
He
um
is.
well, I mean, so we get have a no, I mean another guest so we can
Okay.
mix it up so people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you are a tax professional, an accountant, or even if you're just a finance person, you're in the stocks and bonds,
Hmm.
contact the show 224-484. What's our number? It just went across the
Oh,
screen
girl,
there.
I get my glasses. Like, I can't see.
Or send us drop us a line and contact us, DM us, and we'd love to talk to you about anything. So
There
two
it
two
is.
four 484 0962.
Yeah.
Call the
yeah,
show, leave a message. We have a voicemail there, and we'd love to talk to you and have you participate with us.
well, I think basically that should be a call in, and because when it comes down to people, there are a whole lot of people that are very confused right now about what's going on, especially with all the cryptocurrency and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
So
like someone to do a show on the cryptocurrency.
yep.
yeah.
So we will be covering all of that. So, well, I will bid you all a farewell. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy your week.
Well, it's been great.
And I will see you on Saturday, and we all will see you next Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Absolutely.
yeah.
All
I'll
right.
be listening in. All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Bye
Have a
bye.
great evening.
Okay, same to you.